With how popular Pokemon is and how iconic Pikachu is to the world, there are bound to be Pikachu knockoffs to pop up eventually. Some examples that pop into mind are the main characters and their dinosaurs from Dinosaur King.
Maybe it's a meteor! Hey Rex! Wake up! You aren't gonna believe it!
By the way, the main character of that show is voiced by Ash as well, and his dinosaur has an electric type element, so I feel like they knew what they were doing. Or Yokai Watch, just to name a few. But surprisingly, the ones who's made the most Pikachu clones is Pokemon themselves. Like, I feel that Nintendo just saw how massively popular Pikachu was, and they were like, oh, okay, yeah, we should give every game their own exclusive Pikachu. And while it's worked in a few instances, it hasn't really been the kindest in other regards. Like, don't get me wrong, these Pokemon are all cute at the very least, but they're all electric and have somewhat similar movesets. Except for Mimikyu, which I'm unsure if we even consider a Pikachu clone. A few of these Pokemon have been able to gain some spotlight, most notably Pachirisu, as it was able to win the World Championship back in 2014. Mimikyu, if we do consider it a Pika clone, is the first one to have a different typing, and its unique ability Disguise was very broken in its debut generation, and is still very useful to this day, even with the slight debuffs. But today, I want to talk a little bit about the worst Pikachu clone, my personal history with this Pokemon, and what I think could have been done differently to make this Pokemon just a bit more interesting. But before we get any further, make sure you hit the like button down below for me, make sure you are subscribed, that way you would know when each and every single one of these videos come out, and let me know if you have any interesting video ideas that you'd like to see me cover, or what you thought about this video. I guess before talking about my personal experience and everything else, we should establish which Pika clone is actually the worst. Now, all of these Pokemon for the most part have similar stats, and like mentioned previous, similar movesets. However, if you're at all familiar with the history of Pokemon and their movesets, you'll know that Pokemon from older games did not have very diverse move pools. A lot of Pokemon were relegated to just normal type moves plus whatever typing they are. So for Pachirisu, for example, that's obviously electric. As the games have gone on, Pokemon movesets and abilities have definitely diversified and have gotten better overall. Togedemaru and Pawmot both got additional typings and signature moves that let them shine during their generation. Dedenne was the first Fairy-type Pikachu clone, which let it stand out as well, and I don't consider Pichu a clone personally, as it's just in the family tree. So, we're left with just two options to talk about really, Puzzleminen and Emolga. And just to rip the bandage off and get it over with, it's Puzzleminen. Emolga's flying type is cool, and it at least has decent abilities. Generation 3's Pikachu clones really saw the worst of the treatment. These Pokemon were introduced at a time where Pokemon's new gimmick was the type of battles you could participate in, i.e. double battles. And the idea behind these two is they had these abilities plus and minus, and when both are on the field at the same time, both Pokemon power up and have their special attack boosted by 50%, which, mind you, is a significant boost. The issue, however, lies in the movesets of these Pokemon, as they're just absolutely garbage. Even in the current generations, these Pokemon barely get any coverage, and with low BST, they're not going to be staying on the field for very long, especially for a double battle. Now, when I say these are the worst clones, I'm not just speaking hyperbole or saying it because of some statistics. I'm saying that because I've used all of these Pokemon in each of their respective games. And out of all the times using electric mice, Generation 3 was probably the worst of it. And this is the region covered in water. Growing up, I played Pokemon Emerald dozens of times over because I didn't have many games growing up. So I'm very thankful that these games have a ton of replay value. Now, blue is my favorite color, and when I say there was a blue mouse Pokemon that was also electric type, which at the time was like my second favorite typing, I had to have it. And to be fair, I remember very specifically getting this Minun up to level 93 before either losing my cartridge of Emerald or restarting it. So it clearly put in some work during my playthrough, but I can also distinctly remember it didn't do much work unless we were in the water routes. With only having access to electric and normal moves at this point, any rock ground type completely walled Minun, and if it wasn't facing off against a water or a flying type, Minun likely wasn't doing much for the battle. Regardless, I love the little guy. But now that we've been given newer options and have been shown what Pikachu clones could be, I thought to myself, what would I change? What would I change to make Minun and Plusle better and make them shine just a little bit more? For the Pokemon themselves, there are really only two changes I would make. The movesets really need to be spruced up to give them more options, and I think we can tweak their signature abilities to be a bit more fun and viable. So, let's start with the movesets. Like I mentioned before, the movesets even in Scarlet and Violet are almost bare bones. Aside from the aforementioned electric and normal type attacks, the only moves that these two get are Mud Slap, Trailblaze, Fling, Grass Knot, Play Rough, and Alluring Voice. That's really not that much. The only move here that's really useful is Grass Knot. Trailblaze is okay, but these Pokemon are already decently fast, so there's really little need for it. I want to take a look at the other Pikachu clones and see if they have any moves that would make sense for these two to have. And actually, we'll go ahead and start with Pikachu. From Pikachu, we'll take Eerie Impulse. From Pachirisu, we'll take Thief. From Emolga, we'll take Acrobatics. Dedenne will be giving us Draining Kiss. Togedemaru will be giving us Reflect as a way to bolster our defenses and help these little guys survive a bit longer. From Morpeko, we're actually going to be taking two moves, Crunch and Power Trip. I'll explain why in a minute. And lastly, Pawmot will be giving us another electric move, Double Shock. I think all of these moves are in the realm of believability for either Plusle or Minun using them, especially something like Double Shock, considering the Pokemon are considered a pair. Just thought it would be cute and made sense for both of them to be on the field. They both hit you, even though only one of them is using Double Shock. I don't know, I thought it would be cute. Now, these Pokemon do have the hidden ability Lightning Rod, which makes them immune to electric, but they already weren't taking much damage from electric anyways. And obviously this is helpful in a double battle to pull electric type attacks away from your ally, but we're focused on plus and minus. Now, the boost these two get is nice to have when they're both together, but these Pokemon are so weak that no one is running them both on their team. And no one is using them both at the same time because that's just an easy recipe for defeat, one Earthquake and they both go down. Well, seeing as these abilities work best when together, I don't think it's fair to make them not work at all when by themselves, so here's what I suggest. Plus and minus when on a Pokemon in a single battle will raise either the Pokemon's special attack or special defense by one stage. That stat is chosen at random. However, if you have both plus and minus on the field at the same time, then both Pokemon get +2 in both special attack and defense. Now, I know that may seem drastic, but again, in order to get the insane boost in stats, you have to use two Pokemon of the same type with practically the same exact movesets, so I feel this makes things decently balanced. This would essentially just put them on the same playing field as something like a Raichu or maybe even an Ampharos in the right conditions. Plus, with these double stat boosts with plus and minus, if you were to have both Plusle and Minun on the field at the same time, both getting their stat boosts, then Power Trip from Morpeko becomes extremely strong. And lastly, I wanted to talk about the possibility of evolution for these two. I always thought it was odd that these two Pokemon had a random math theme to them, and I always expected there to be more with multiplication and division, but obviously we never got that. And doing this would fit really nicely into the theme of early school math. It would round out everything between addition, division, multiplication, and subtraction, as they're all part of core learning in elementary school, which is when most of us would have played these games. For names, I'm unsure. I'm not super creative with naming themes, and the only thing that I could think of is Divisminin and Multiplusle. But if you can think of anything, please say so in the comment section below. So, there you have it. With these changes, these Pokemon become a little bit more viable, but not so powerful that they eclipse their fellow Pikachu siblings. Obviously, when the new generation of Pokemon comes out, there will more than likely be another Pikachu clone, and some other ones like Plusle, Minun, Dedenne, and so forth will just fall further and further into obscurity. But if Nintendo revisits some of the older creations like they have been, and just look at them in a new light, then maybe we can finally have these two somewhat viable in the future. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you hit the like button down below for me. Make sure you are subscribed, that way you know when each and every single one of these videos come out. And if you have an idea for a video that you'd like for me to talk about, let me know down in the comment section below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all next time.